What's up, guys? Welcome to Movie Emporium's Flashback Reviews, where we take movies from our past, break them down, and tell you what we think about them. As always, if you like what you see, remember to rate, subscribe, check out the YouTube channel, Facebook, and Twitter. Email nlapolo113@gmail.com if you have any questions. All right, so we continue our quest for Avengers Endgame. We head into 2014 with our first movie, which is Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Now, Captain America, the Winter Soldier is directed by the Russo brothers. It's their first film of what eventually becomes their mainstay for Marvel. Kevin Feige hired them after seeing what they did in Community and Welcome to Collinwood. And it's interesting to see because they're known for being comedic directors. And here they have to do like an espionage thriller. They have to do, all these things to kind of move forward the MCU into an interesting new world. And you know what? They do it spectacularly. So, so the idea behind Captain America: The Winter Soldier is this: Captain America, Steve Rogers, played by Chris Evans, he is just past the Avengers New York Battle, New York. He's now doing missions for Shield, so he is, going on black ops things, saving people, trying to help things move along, get better. And so one day, him and Natasha Romanoff, who's played by Scarlett Johansson, of course, and you have Frank Grillo, who's playing Brock Rumlow, who eventually becomes Crossbones. They go on this op where they have to rescue people off this boat, and in the process, there's a hidden mission where Black Widow has to get this file basically from these terrorists, and this file contains stuff about Shield, about Captain America, just about everything going on in the Shield universe. And it starts bringing up weird, interesting theories about how Shield may not be on the level, about how Nick Fury's hiding stuff from Steve Rogers and the Shield Initiative and the Avengers. And he starts to prove his theory right, where basically Shield, since World War II, and Armand Zola, who's brought back with Toby Jones, they have been infiltrating the Shield Initiative, the Shield group. They're basically, the Shield is basically Hydra front. And this brings into a whole new interesting dynamic of Captain America, Black Widow, Nick Fury, played by Samuel L. Jackson, of course, are put in this situation where they're now being hunted by the people they were protecting against. And they start to learn that Shield is, not only on the level, but the person in charge, who's played by Robert Redford, who plays by Alexander Pierce, he is basically the Hydra main person. A lot of people thought it was going to be Red Skull, but it wasn't. And so they have to go on the run, and they have to figure out how to take down Hydra. And then they find out that the helicarriers that are being built, which is under a thing called Project Initiative, they are going to be used to basically take down millions of people by killing them. Everybody from the Avengers with Dr. Bruce Banner, and of course Stephen Strange, which gets mentioned in there, which is really cool because it's a future movie coming up. But the fact that Steven Rogers is put into the situation makes this movie just that much more interesting, because Steve Rogers is an idealist. He was there to protect the people. He's not there to protect the government. He's there to protect the people working for the government, or Shield, or whatever you want to call it. And he has to do what he needs to do to take down Shield, basically. And then in the process, Nick Fury and all these characters are being attacked by something called the Winter Soldier, who is a Russian operative, a Russian agent, and he's like, one of the craziest, villains you can put in the situation, because we learn as Bucky Barnes, who, after the freeway chase sequence, the fight, Steve Rogers learns this and learns that not only is Hydra and Shield not on the level, but his friend is alive. And he's being used against his will by Alexander Pierce and Hydra, and so on and so forth. So he has to deal with that situation. He has to deal with the Hydra situation. And it's just a fascinating movie. It's a fascinating tale of just espionage and all that stuff. And everybody is on their A game here. The fact that Kevin Feige was able to hire the Russo brothers, and they were able to do something so amazing and so fast forward moving to change the landscape of the MCU, is just, it's why it's my favorite MCU movie in the, in the whole entire MCU. There hasn't been a movie before it There's been a couple movies that have been come close with like Doctor Strange and Guardians of the Galaxy, but this movie really was a pivot point for why the MCU became the juggernaut that it became. And I love it just for that. And that's not, we haven't even gotten to the action sequences, which are fantastic. You know, you have the Nick Fury being chased by they're being undercover as police, but they're really Shield agents or Hydra agents. And there's that whole thing where we get introduced to Winter Soldier, who is, you know, like I said, formidable force. And Nick Fury has to hide, and he eventually finds Rogers, and then he's basically killed, we think. And so that sets off the motion of Steve Rogers with the drive and trying to protect himself and Black Widow. That whole sequence is amazing. But the real like main, I think the funnest sequence is of course the freeway chase. But then you get when Captain Rogers goes to Shield, and then he gets attacked in the elevator, which is one of the most amazing sequences for how it's shot, how it's put together. It blows your mind to see all these guys fighting in such a little space. And you know, of course, he's fighting, you know, Frank Grillo's character, Rumlaw, sorry, and that plays out really nicely, and that's really well done. And Steve Rogers gets escapes, and then there's some stuff in between, and then we get to the freeway chase, which is like it is so well paced and so well put together, and so just like it moves with like some frenetic energy that just it's so enlightening to see something so good come out of something like this. Because there's some amazing action sequences in Marvel movies, but this is how you do an action sequence because like the Matrix freeway chase and the Matrix Reloaded, there's just something about it. You know, you go from they've basically kidnapped the guy that is explained what's going on. He gets ejected out of the window. They fight the Winter Soldier on top of a car and everything like that happens, and then they fight him on the ground. It's just so good, so well put together. And then you get to the helicarrier sequence and all that, how that plays out. It's very Avengerish. It's very insane at how it's moving. And then of course we got Anthony Mackie who's playing Sam Wilson or Falcon as he's later called, and he's a war vet, and he's just Anthony Mackie's embodies just the guy who's trying to do better for the world. And that's why he and Steve Rogers just fit so well together in this movie because they're idealists and they have respect for each other for what they're doing. And it's just Anthony Mackie owns this role, and you see how much he's had to go through to pick himself up, and just the way he carries himself through to the Falcon eventually. It's just a fantastic character that I wish got his own movie because he's so good in it. And of course, Haley Atwell comes back as an older Agent Carter, and that's such a sad sequence because you know Captain Rogers, he loves this woman, he has affection for this woman, but he can't. She has dementia, so she can't remember anything. It's just sad. It's sad to see that they're never going to be really a thing anymore, and it's unfortunate, but it's a heartbreaking scene, but it's beautiful to watch. Just how much Captain America or Steve Rogers really cares for her character, and it's just this movie is just amazing in so many different levels. It's just nice to see that Scarlett Johansson, who was really kind of an afterthought in Iron Man 2, really develops an interesting, fantastic character that her and Samuel L. Jackson's character, Nick Fury, they really envelop what this whole MCU is all about, which is just people who want to do better that are getting screwed by the man basically, and they have to show what their worth is. And just everything about this movie just it just works like it's like if you take a ball or you take a brick or something and you just break it in half and then you find a way to glue it back together, which is I know is not the greatest thing in the world to try and explain, but it's such a interesting rotating movie that you know the fact that they got Robert Redford in here as the bad guy and he's been in a lot of espionage thriller movies, and here he is playing the bad guy, which is amazing. It's such a great movie, and it's one of the best comic book movies. I put it up there in my top 10 comic book movies of all time because it's so good. And I don't think any movie's ever been able to hit, like I said before, hit the levels that this movie does. But like the fact that it takes down Shield and moves the MCU into a different phase of what we're known it for being, it's so fantastic. And it's such a shame that Avengers, Age of Ultron didn't really harp onto that moment. And Civil War, I thought was okay, but it doesn't really take into effect what Winter Soldier did. And I don't know. I just think it's a great movie. I think Winter Soldier is the top, and the Russo brothers should get a lot of credit for creating some great action sequences and great moments. If I have one moment that I don't like is how Sam the Falcon was able to get up 45 floors in such a quick pace. But it's a fun action sequence between him and Frank Grillo. So there you go. But so thank you so much for watching. That's gonna be my take on Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I apologize for my voice. I know I'm losing it. I've told you this before, but whatever. But with that, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, remember to rate, subscribe, check out the YouTube channel, Facebook, and Twitter. Email nthepolo1138gmail.com if you have any questions. So tell me below what you think of Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I know a lot of people think the same way I do when it's one of the best. But otherwise, we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.